All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to episode 5 of Chubby Cat. You made it.
What
You're
are you doing?
here.
What? Stop.
I don't know. Hey, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in once again to the one and only Chubby Cat podcast.
Hey, move.
Don't break my shit,
Oscar,
please.
come on.
You fucking
Come on,
old
you gotta go.
bag of shit.
Whoa.
Beanbag?
Don't call my dog a bag of shit. Beanbag I'm okay with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Too far? It's
hard.
Too far. Too far, you guys, on the name calling of the dog.
My dog was leaning against the table to try to, cuddle against my leg.
Yes. Just trying to give him love, but, as we've stated before in the past, this dog have beef.
Yeah.
He is beef and
He is beef and we have beef.
Oscar, no.
He's eating my pizza and he's unplugged things.
All right, Jeff.
He has it out for me. But like I said, thank you and welcome to episode 5 of Chubby Cats. I am your co-host, your founding father, your George Washington, Tom. And as always, I'm joined by my lovely, lovely brethren. If they want to go ahead and chime in.
Hey, this is Sterling, once again.
And this is Jason.
Ooh. Hey, how's it going, guys?
Going good? Yeah.
Yeah, did you guys have a good week?
Yeah, I did. I got a truck this week.
You did. Now you're like a man.
And man, I feel a lot cooler in my truck than I did in my piece of crap Ford Focus. So, for those of you guys who don't know, I have been driving a Ford Focus for a while, but it's had some weird intermittent electrical issues and just kind of started to break down, and I already didn't want to put a lot of money into it because I couldn't, no one's been able to fix the issues with the electrical stuff without just ripping out all the wiring. And it's the kind of thing I've had fixed a couple of different times, but then no one's been able to replicate it at the repair shop, and then it's still a problem. So I had the windshield broke, and then a couple weeks ago I was trying to toggle my air conditioning over, and it snapped, the dial to change the location of the air snapped, and so it was stuck pouring out freezing cold air on my feet only, which was kind of the beginning of the end for the car.
Now, if some of you may have guessed by now, because we've given you enough geographical locators to really kind of put us, we live in Southern California, and it is hot, pretty much year-round. People say it's paradise. It's the land of summer, and but that means you need air conditioning in your car.
Yeah, I mean, we technically do live in a desert.
Yeah.
I mean, we pump
Air
pump in water from other states.
And it is beautiful if you're not super far inland. I don't know if we're super far inland, but I mean we're more the desert part than at the beach.
Yeah.
So the average day is 87-ish, and then during the summer it's anywhere from high 90s to low hundreds. So yeah, it gets pretty intense.
Yeah, if you've ever pictured those beautiful places across the world where it's desert that suddenly meets smack up against the ocean, that's basically what we got going on here.
Yeah, but don't get it wrong. lovely place to live. Lovely.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I love it. It was just a pain in the ass to only have that happen.
Yeah. But so I got a couple of things that happened to me this week, especially at work, that I would love to bring up because it's fucking insane what happened at work this week. I'm going to start off with today, which was probably the craziest thing I've ever had happen to me since I've started working at the ripe age of 16. So I work in a warehouse as a product photographer. I'm going to leave the name out. And so they were providing us at the end of the year lunch, like Hawaiian lunch, and it was going to be from 12 to 1. And they told us about this, they had a flyer up for the last month. And we're like, okay, cool. So we do these things called huddles, and as a photographer, sometimes I have to go to the meeting, sometimes I don't. And so they call it huddle, and we went out to go to the huddle, all the photographers, and we were told that we were not needed at this meeting. So we went back inside and started taking pictures, and then come to find out there was all this information about today that we just didn't get told. And so it started circulating around the floor to us that we weren't supposed to clock out. We were not to clock out for our lunches on our scheduled time. So we take lunch no later than 10:30 before we hit our 5th hour, which is the law. You got to take your lunch before you hit your 5th hour. Like
At least in California.
at least in California.
Cali state law.
You know, because you get meal penalties and whatnot. It's your right. It's the law. So I was like, oh, that's weird. So basically, they were telling us not to take our lunch because we were going to get an hour from 12 to 1 lunch, like, party thing. So I was like, well, technically, I'm still allowed to take my lunch. Like, you can't tell me not to take my lunch. And meanwhile, this, like, leader came to me and was like, yeah, so, like, someone had clocked out for lunch. He went and told him to come clock back in. And this was, like, 10:04. So then around, like, 10:15-ish, a lead told me, he's like, yeah, don't clock out, you know, you'll clock out at 12 and get a half an hour lunch there, and then we'll pay you the next half an hour of the hour. And I was like, okay, just making sure. You're telling me that I can't clock out for my lunch, my allotted lunch. And he's like, right. And I'm like, okay. Also, how are you, like, not getting a bunch of meal penalties right now for telling the entire warehouse not to clock out on time? And he's like, oh, we're manually changing it to show that you did clock out on time, and then we're going to clock you back in at 10:30. So I was like, oh, so you're lying about it so you don't get a bunch of meal penalties. Like, that's what you're telling me right now? That's what you're telling me? Meanwhile, I used to be a manager in retail, so all these things I know you're not supposed to do. And he's like, what? And I was like, you're basically telling an employee not to clock out for his, like, lunch, which is against the law. And then also you're telling me now that you're forfeiting, like, you're forging basically all these punches so you don't get in trouble. And he kind of just looked at me and then just, like, walked away to report to, like, our main boss. And then I want to say, like, 10 minutes later, all of a sudden all the leads were like, yeah, you can go ahead and clock out. Like, it's not mandatory, but if you clock out, like, you only get a half an hour at the luau. And we're like, okay. Clocked out. Came back from lunch, was told that they messed up so bad that everyone gets to go to lunch, and you also get the paid hour luau. Like, it was like, good cover up, man.
Yeah.
Also, just for context, I don't remember if we specified, but a meal penalty is just an hour worth of pay if you go over the 5 hour mark.
Right. But also, like, if you think about it, like a warehouse full of people getting meal penalties, that's
per associate.
Yeah,
so
it's
not ideal.
It is a hefty fine.
It's a huge deal in California. We have very strict labor laws that, you know, a lot of companies have to adhere to, and these kind of things could blow up in their face and screw it over. So, you know, again, they really should have been thinking. You would think.
There have been plenty of class action lawsuits.
Yeah, like the leader of the company would realize, okay, we just tell our employees, hey, you can come get food in, have them grab food, and then still clock out for their lunch. That would be the thing to do. Or like, hey, we're having the luau all day. When your lunch happens, come grab some food. I mean, that's how we used to do it. I worked in another big box store, and I'm not afraid to say it, but I worked for Home Depot.
Whoa, bro.
What?
Home Depot. I love that place.
It's fun. But anyway, and so, yeah, we would have, you know, associate appreciation days where they'd barbecue for us or bring in, like, catering. And so the deal was, you know, you can grab food whenever you're, you know, back there, and you're allotted like a 10 to 15 minute break as well, so you can grab food even then. But, you know, so if you happen to coincide your lunch with the cooking, you can grab food then, but, you know, you don't have to, but you still get your lunch so that they're not screwing themselves over and, you know, opening themselves up to lawsuits.
It was just crazy. And, like, I think my favorite part was, like, everyone was like, okay, but they just accepted it.
Yeah.
And it was like the day prior, we were told at my job that we have, like, a new quota to hit, which, I mean, is not unreasonable. Like, it's like, okay, it just means you have to work really hard. Like, and if you knew where I worked in the warehouse, people just don't. So, like, it was pretty interesting to be like, yeah, you know, we just got to step it up. Like, the average time spent on a certain thing in a warehouse is supposed to be, like, 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes now instead of our 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay, cool. And they're like, yeah, and just to show our appreciation, like, we bought you pizza. And I was like, wait, so you just asked us to do more work at a faster rate, but for the same pay, and you're just covering it up with pizza? And everyone's like, yeah. And I totally felt like it was the government, like keeping the poor people happy with fast food, you know? It was crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean...
That's certainly one way to think about it.
Realistic. Yeah, I apologize for any background noise. It was quiet, and now my whole house is, like, woken up.
Everyone is, like, just partying. It's cool. Yeah, so it was just fun. It was just fun, like, the little similarities to see, like, people at work, like, just totally going along with it and not caring that they're totally being taken advantage of.
That is a problem. And that brings up a deeper issue that how many people are just, get along people, like, they're told a thing. And sometimes it's the better route to go. You keep your head down, you just do whatever, and you're just trying to survive. But,
very common.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know if it's as much of an issue anymore, but a lot of people at my wife's work, including my wife at times, because she's very much like a get along, don't kind of make a stink or a fuss. And she tells me these stories, and I'm just like, they can't do that.
That's illegal.
And she's like, well, it just
rights.
happens. Like, we're all cool with it. I'm like, well, you shouldn't be. Like,
Yeah.
I'll talk to him.
That's how Hitler came to power, y'all. Like, an entire world was like, yeah, you can have Poland. It's cool. No, it's cool. You can have that.
Yeah. But just people not wanting to step in there.
Not people wanting to step in.
As I say, a true act of evil is done when a good person doesn't act. It's by the same extension. It's that get along attitude. It's that not wanting to be the squeaky wheel. Well, and the squeaky wheel gets grease, and sometimes grease is awful, sometimes grease is good. But fight for your rights. Stick up for yourself.
And I mean, sometimes like sticking up and going against the grain is not going to be pleasant. It's gonna you're gonna meet friction. But in the end, most good things that come are from people who are willing to go against the grain,
Right.
What a way to open a podcast. Just
right.
Wow. California labor laws and
right. So lighter note. Grease, good or bad? Let's talk about your favorite movie and your least favorite movie.
Oh, okay. I thought we were gonna go to like Greece and like talking about like economics. I'm like, wait, how is that a very lighter note? No. Greece the movie.
On the
very different Greece.
Okay.
Or either that, or it was going to be a lube comment. Stick with water-based lubricants, everyone. Much safer.
But then, like,
I had to chime that in.
Slathering my hog in like pig fat?
No, dude. It's all about aloe vera, bro.
Aloe vera.
Yeah.
It burns though.
No. No, you get the one like the little bit.
Wait, realistically, like
are you actually using aloe for your fappening?
Yeah.
You heard it here, people.
You're putting it inside of a woman, or just when?
Just like
when you mug it.
Yeah, like normally, like I've yet to encounter a woman that has been so dry that I'm like, I need lube. But yeah, when I'm just like, you know what? Me and Tom Jones, Unconventional Trouser Snake, need some alone time. I bust out the aloe.
Wait, you should break that down, because are you referring to your penis as Tom Jones, the trouser snake?
The unconventional.
Unconventional trouser snake. I feel we need some definition there.
His name has always been this.
I did not know this.
Yeah, it was one late night. I was on a website with our good friend, and we named our private parts. Mine was Tom Jones, Unconventional Trouser Snake, and her vagina was Wendy's open late so you can eat great even late. It was a bit wordy, but
that's complicated.
But it was good.
Yeah. That's not even satisfyingly complicated.
No.
Right, no, I agree. Hey, so have you experimented, because I have, for example, the aloe vera with lidocaine.
Yep, that's what I was saying. Like, it's like a little like numbing situation so you last longer.
Desensitized.
Yeah, it's just for a pleasure experience. It's just
basically what I'm hearing is that you're just not as good at sex without some sort of
no.
Some sort of aid.
No, I just like. I mean,
he's masturbating. He just end it whenever. He's not trying to press anyone.
Okay. Yeah, but also like it just helps with like just masturbating for like an hour and a half and then just fucking
finding that zen.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to a weird place.
All right. Movies.
Back to movies.
I really like porn.
I mean, who doesn't?
I mean, going along, but I was trying to segue like porn, movies.
Yes, in back to the film.
So are we sticking just to if Grease is a good movie, or are we just talking about favorite movies?
No, let's talk about I was just using
Grease
that as
transitioning to a movie.
Okay.
So what is your favorite movie, and then your least favorite movie?
Okay.
Ooh. And like why?
Okay.
We can just stick to one. We don't like do them all. But I wanted to kind of cover those topics because.
Well, I know my favorite movie of all time is Forrest Gump, and the reason why is because an eight-year-old Thomas saw Forrest Gump and was like, I'm gonna make movies. Like, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to tell stories. I want to tell a story like this good, and make a movie that would inspire someone to go out and make movies like Forrest Gump did. Least favorite movie? Like, I'm pretty sure I have a lot, but at the moment right now, it's probably Suicide Squad. Like, for most, like...
In the moment,
yeah. Like, not, like, I can't think of one of, like, all time where I'm just like, if it's on. Oh God, but like,
So why, like what? I mean, I haven't seen it. I had no desire to see it.
Right.
But why Suicide Squad?
It was like, oh my God, where to start?
Where to start?
You know,
That's perfect.
It was just poor writing, poor like execution. Editing was weird. It was almost like they assumed the audience was stupid and just didn't care. And then they're like, here's a bunch of characters. Like, I didn't care about a single character on the screen. The most I felt for a single character was like one character who had about 5 minutes of screen time throughout the entire movie. He didn't have a superpower. He was just like some like Navy SEAL dude. And he like, spoiler, he like kills himself at the end.
Well, I mean, not kills himself, but he sacrifices himself.
Yeah, he sacrificed himself.
Yeah,
he like blows up a bomb.
He didn't commit suicide.
Yeah, but it was like,
I can see that though, in the sense of if you look at how Marvel has handled their Avengers series, that everyone got their own movie. I mean, there's Hawkeye or whoever.
Yeah.
But for the most part, all the main players have gotten their own movies before we got a combo movie. They had a lot of groundwork versus Suicide Squad, which pulled a bunch of characters out of nowhere. Not nowhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we never met them and are like, now you gotta learn about them all and care about them all right now.
yeah, well, it was just a weird execution.
Also, by that same extension, Guardians of the Galaxy, which brought a bunch of characters together, which
Very
have
true.
their own things, was incredibly successful because they just made the characters very endearing. They spent just the right amount of time. And I think it's also that factor that they had that one annealing character and that one that kind of really brings everyone together in Star-Lord.
Right.
Like, so getting his backstory and then seeing it, legitimately watching how they all became a group really endears them to you, and you could find a lot of like identification with the various characters. And I mean, just saying
Star Prince.
Prince. Vin Diesel, as Groot at the end, that real self-sacrifice. Just right in the feels. Right in the feels.
And like I said, like, I think that works perfect. And like, Suicide Squad easily could have done that.
They could have.
It was just they spent half the movie doing flashbacks showing who each character was or how they got captured.
Especially Harley Quinn, spending a lot of time with her.
And then they would jump into like, all of a sudden they're like, oh, by the way, here's this other character and here's this other character. The thing that got me the most was the flashback where he's like, where there's a part where Will Smith is like, you tell him everything right now, or I don't help you. And like the soldier guy's like, yeah, okay, I'll tell you everything. And then it cuts to 30 minutes, it cuts to a scene but we've already seen as an audience.
We've already watched it all.
We've already watched it all, and shows you the scene again. And it wasn't even like here's the same scene, but it played out differently. No, it played out exactly how you thought it played
little
out.
secret things that were nods to what actually was going on. That
Exactly.
Yes, they didn't reveal any new information. That was kind of their failing.
Yeah, it was just kind of boom, and I was like, that was the moment I was like, oh no, they just think the audience is stupid. Yeah. So I think for that moment, it's just like.
Yeah.
And the other failing, they had a huge opportunity. They even brought Ben Affleck's Batman into it. They could have literally united all those characters using Batman because they're all universally have been involved with Batman at some point or other. So they could have done that, and it would have been beautiful, and it would have made the end cutscene even better too. But again, they just dropped the ball.
They could have even made it like a Deadshot movie, like Avengers. Yeah, like the team comes together kind of thing. But truthfully, it's an Iron Man movie. It's like Iron Man is the focal point. So even if they made Deadshot, a character that was captured and brought into the Suicide Squad that was already formed and training, then I would kind of been like, oh, okay, cool, these are the characters.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just in the moment right now. That's probably
it was underwhelming.
Yeah. If that was on right now, I would do anything else.
Wow.
Makes sense. All right, Sterling, what about you?
That's tough. I usually keep a list of movies that I find are my favorite, and it sometimes breaks down to genre. Because for the longest time, though, I would have to, really put it Knights of Badass, a film that if you haven't seen it, check it out on Netflix. It is on there. Let's pray to God it never leaves.
It is incredible.
Fingers crossed. Whoever you want to pray to, Krishna, Buddha, Zeus, Thor. And let's keep it on there. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Give it a watch.
Would you say that you've watched that more than any other movie, in your life? Because I know you watch a lot of movies, sometimes, back to back on a nightly basis because of your insomnia. And I know this has been a long-running one. Would you say this is probably your most watched movie ever?
This this is easily the most watched film for me. I have watched it every night in concurrence pretty much since its release. It was actually slotted to be shown in theaters, but it never got that chance. It just never picked up, and it became, it's become kind of a cult thing, but I love the film. It has Peter Dinklage in it, for one, which is amazing. It has, I forget the gentleman's name. He played Jason Stackhouse in True Blood.
I always forget his name.
And a great ensemble in general. River Song. River Tam, sorry. I don't know why I always go song. River Tam is in it. And it's a great cast.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny. It's actiony. It's quirky. It's incredibly dorky. If you consider yourself a nerd in your heart of hearts, go watch this movie.
I don't think there's a more quotable movie that I've seen within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
It's a good 10.
But right up there now, they're really sharing the spot. It's got to be, so Knights of Badassdom. Huge plug for them.
No, where he's going right now.
Zootopia.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've fallen deeply in love with Zootopia, and
bestiality.
I ship the hell out of that. And you sick fuck, don't you dare!
I know you would.
Don't you dare.
know you would fuck that rabbit.
I would. No, there's no attraction for that. I want Nick and Judy to be together. I know it's weird. It's a cross species thing. It's a strange thing. There's a lot of shipping. Pinterest, Tumblr, but I love it.
But you are dressing up as Nick, meaning that you identify as Nick and you want them to be together. By that logic, you would fuck that rabbit.
You would hoppity hop it.
I'm not saying I wouldn't if I was Nick, but that's neither here nor there. Neither here nor there.
Ryan.
We can get into my deep.
Keaton.
Keaton?
Is he Jason Stackhouse? Is that
Yes.
where we're going?
Jason Stackhouse? Okay. Just to clear it out. And then, as always,
Katawan.
still going, trying to figure out this last name, apparently. Any zombie movie, but I've been watching a ton of Scout the Zombie Apocalypse, but in truth, really Army of Darkness, if you're going to go, cult films. Don't get me wrong, I love Princess Bride as far as, cult films go, but Army of Darkness, Bruce Campbell, he's my man. He is my shit. But yeah, so I had to put it those probably 4 because I couldn't quite break it down. I don't know if I could live without him. I don't know if I could.
Yeah. This is my boomstick.
This
All
is
right.
my shit. But yeah. Worst movie.
And we've seen a lot of them.
We've seen a lot of them. But movies I just do not care for. I don't know, I enjoy a lot of film. I actually enjoy bad movies, I'll be honest. It's a thing. But Battlefield Earth always comes back to me. And I don't know if you've seen it. It's with Travolta and a lot of other actors. Aliens have taken over Earth. Mankind's been subjugated.
There's that one guy who's in the new Star Wars movie is going to be in it. The one black dude with the wigged out eye.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
you were just kill the conversation.
Yeah, you killed it, man. You killed it.
I was trying to think of other actors.
I can picture him, but I don't know what his name is. But he's going to be the... I forget his character's name too. He's the guy that's coming over from the series, the animated series.
Yeah. Anyway,
Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker. I'm sorry, Forrest Whitaker. You're a great actor.
You are phenomenal, sir.
Just the movie wasn't.
All of your roles
wasn't ideal.
Yeah. Repo Men, another great film that you were in that not a lot of people talk about.
It's true.
Now, either way, Battlefield Earth was the first film in my life I ever walked out of the theater with. I saw it with my family. I was probably about 10, and it was so God's awful.
Did that come out that long ago?
Yeah, it has been
God.
ages. It has been ages. And it was just so bad that finally years later when it was out on DVD, I remember watching it and with commercials and everything and just thinking, and I sat through the whole thing just to see it. It was just that bad. And I think it has vague ties to the L. Ron Hubbard books. They may be called Battlefield Earth. I don't know. Again, I do love books, but there are fewer, more pretentious or egotistical writers than L. Ron Hubbard. There's a collection at San Diego State in their special collection department of first edition books of his, and he has a foreword where he addresses his readers in such a way that it pissed me off. It insults both our intelligence and everything about us, but it's infuriating. So right now I'm going to go with Battlefield Earth. I'll think about it. There are probably others, but for some reason that's just the one that first comes to mind.
That is a good one.
Yeah. I also don't care for the movie Seabiscuit.
Too long, and it's about a horse.
And then it's about a horse. Yeah.
Tobey Maguire.
So that's another one. Yeah, just don't care for Seabiscuit. There are other movies I don't care for, but those two really make it. The Aviator, I've watched it now several times recently for some reason, and after now watching it probably 2 times all the way through, I don't care for that movie anymore either. So those are my 3 right there.
How about you, Jay Brownie?
No, so my favorite would definitely be Fight Club, has been for many, many years. I just think I love the cinematic style of the movie, and just the way it tells a story, and again, just one of those very quotable movies, and something I was able to really identify with some of those themes of, if you're not careful, the things you own wind up owning you, and being able to simplify your life, and all those kind of things. So I always really enjoyed that. Plus, it's just a fun movie to watch.
It's a weird thought to think about Fight Club. So how like the first rule of Fight Club is not to talk about Fight Club. Mm-hmm. Like, wouldn't that be weird if like everyone loved that movie so much that they took that rule to heart, and like so no one just ever talked about the movie.
It just like fell off the map.
It just fell off the map because no one talked about it.
That would have been remarkable.
Everyone fell off the rule.
That'd have been pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That belongs in one of those, actually the very rare categories of books movies that were better than books.
That's true.
And that is a remarkable statement.
Even Palahniuk admitted it. He's like, this beat the shit out of my head.
Yeah, it's like, man, if I could have written it over again, I would have written it like that.
Yeah.
There are very few movies like that, but that is
very true.
That's definitely one of them.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Most hated movie is tough because much like Sterling, I enjoy a lot of movies. We watch a lot of bad movies for fun.
Yes.
The only thing that popped into my head, like that knee-jerk reaction, was The Toxic Avenger.
Mother of God.
Which admittedly, I only made it through about a third of the movie before my body put itself to sleep as a defense mechanism. A B movie was giving that far too much credit. It's just a horrendous, like, action hero, kind of like comic book style tone of a movie, but horrific execution. What was it, like an 80s movie?
80s. Now let me help you flesh out the story here, because this happened with both Jason and I. We decided to watch it. Now, unlike him, Toxic Avenger has actually been around for a while, the comic, and then they made a cartoon. And I watched it as a kid. Like, my grandfather found it at the swap meet and got me, like, the 3 cassette. I'm talking, like, actual VHS set, and I watched all 3, and they have several episodes on it. But it was really entertaining. It was funny and campy. It was kind of a cool, weird superhero. It was at the really, like, the environmental stage. Like, it was, not quite the caliber of, like, say, Captain Planet, but it was in that vein of, like, doing bad things to Earth, bad effects, here's a hero fighting against it.
I think it wanted to be campy, but failed.
Exactly. So when we found the film, I was pretty jazzed to see it, and Jason's like, all right, yeah, sure, let's throw it in. And he proceeded to knock out, like, after, like, 20, maybe 30 minutes of it, and he somehow, while asleep, kept up.
Oh, this is one of my superpowers.
Yeah, the conversation with me. I was talking to him about the film, about how terrible it was, and I was commenting about it, and I was tearing it apart, and I was talking about it, and he was responding perfectly. Perfectly, people.
Yeah, I can converse in my sleep, and have done so for years, especially if I'm in, like, a light sleep, like I just went to sleep, to the point where he then put in Toxic Avenger 2, and he kept the movie streak going. And like I said, I probably made it through about 25, 30 minutes. And he got through the second one, and I don't know if it was the end of the second one or you started the third before you realized that I was asleep. And had been asleep for hours.
Yeah.
Because I said something that just, like, finally was glaringly wrong. Like, it finally caught up where...
A response that just did not make sense with what I just said. I was like, what? Are you okay, man?
He actually looked over at me on the couch and saw that I was, like, rolled over, like, facing the cushion. Like, totally out of it.
Conked out.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was literally brutal. I don't know if I've ever felt so betrayed and yet at the same time envious of the place that he was, because I sat through 2 and almost a half movies, and it was weird. They tried to do like the whole Evil Dead thing where it was the first Toxic Avenger and then they did like a retooling with the second Toxic Avenger where things were just a little bit more out there and kind of crazy, and yet with a little bit of like new story introduced to the end. Again, very Evil Dead. They failed miserably, but you can't even see the hand gestures I have, but it is graphic.
It is a large gesticulation.
Speaking of falling asleep and superpowers, I think it might be time to talk about Thomas's superpower of falling asleep.
It's the best superpower, you mean? I love it.
If he is remotely comfortable, he can fall asleep in about 4 minutes.
Yep, you can fall asleep anywhere. It's
Anywhere.
pretty sick, as long as I can get a little comfy.
Yeah. On the ground. I've seen this man pass out on every style of floor, be it hardwood, tile, carpet. He's remotely comfortable, and this man just passes out. Couch, chair, outside, on
I love
the cement.
outside. Outside is my favorite.
If he's been drinking outside on the cool like concrete, is his
so
favorite.
good. It's so good.
But even like sitting in a chair, like playing video games, and many times I won't even realize because we'll be having a conversation. He'll be like, "All right, I'm gonna make some coffee. We're gonna, and it won't be super late. Sometimes it'll be like 10:45.
Yeah, it'll be early.
And he'll be like, "All right, cool. We're gonna sit down,
Rock it out.
We're gonna do some, we're gonna get some levels in. All right, kick ass." And then I'll look over because he's just like running into a wall and he's fallen asleep.
There's been many times I wake up during game sessions and I'm just running into a wall or just like standing still in the middle of a quest. I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm just playing and I'm comfy playing or comfy reading or whatever, and my brain's just like, you know what, man, you should just power down. And I'm like, that sounds great.
Sounds ideal.
Movies, hangouts, you name it. This man has fallen asleep during parties.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I fall asleep during parties. It's one of
Also,
those-
I was gonna say when he eats certain things and
yes.
falls asleep,
Yep.
then he sleepwalks. And we've discovered that one of those catalyst meals is cream soda and buffalo wings.
Oh, buffalo wings. I got an Achilles heel for some wings.
And there have been a few instances of sleepwalking. One, my favorite story,
To this day, still a mystery, I would say.
So I was sound asleep, and I lived at this time in a studio apartment. So I had a bed in the corner. We had a couch that Thomas was spending the night on.
Luxury.
And Luxury was her name. Which is a very comfy couch that I had for many years. And I wake up in the middle of the night because I thought there was an earthquake. My whole studio apartment was shaking. And I sat up in bed and I said, like, what the fuck was that? And Thomas sits up in the middle of the kitchen and says, I don't know what. And then he stops and holds his face and goes, oh my God, my face hurts.
It feels like I just got socked in the jaw.
What happened?
Hurt.
And I look over at him because it's dark, it's like 4 a.m. I'm like, what are you doing in the kitchen? And he kind of looked around and goes, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I was getting a drink of water and then I woke up here. And we pieced it together that he had gotten up and gotten a drink from the sink and then he drained the cup dry, which I found out later because I opened the fridge and an empty cup fell out.
Yep.
That he had balanced the empty cup on the inside of the fridge, almost like a fucking booby trap.
Yep.
So as soon as I opened it, it fell out. And I was like, what the fuck is a cup? He's like, oh, that's my water cup.
Yeah.
Like, that's where it went. So he
Put it in the
took a
fridge.
drink, put the empty cup back in the fridge, right on the edge, closed it, turned himself around, and
Fell
faced
asleep.
himself towards the couch, and then fell asleep standing up, and slammed the side of his head into the kitchen counter as he fell, which was the earthquake sound that woke me up.
It was pretty sick.
So then he crawled back into bed and was like, everything hurts. Good night.
My face hurt so bad.
My friends apparently have superpowers in their sleep. I don't really necessarily have one because I think I'd have to be able to sleep. I belong in that category they call the sleep lead, where it's someone who can sleep between 1 and 2 hours a night and still wake up and then fully function the next day. Now, less so now that I'm getting older, but that was my life.
Yeah, I like to sleep. I don't know. There's been times too where like I'll wake up and my pants are off, and I'm like, "Hey Jay, did you take off my pants?" And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah,
We always question why we would take
and
off.
it's like
that was another one too.
yeah, but like it's not like I took off my pants and like threw them on the floor. Like I took off my pants and like
I folded them
like nicely and put them on a chair.
and like went back into bed facing the opposite direction.
Yeah, it's just stuff like that.
Yep.
I don't know.
Those little things.
It's just good. It's good. It's good sleeping.
My other superpower, which is not related to sleep, but is more of like a latent superpower, is that I like toggle on and off streetlights when I walk underneath them. So like I don't know if it's I feel like I have like an electromagnetic like field around me or
Just like
something.
calling yourself Static Shock right now.
No, but it's not that cool. Like they just turn off. Like I'm more likely to get like mugged or raped or
Or
some
maybe
shit.
you're gonna mug someone. Like that. Maybe like instead of a
That'd be cool,
superpower,
but
it's a super villain.
I'm too mild mannered. Like I couldn't be a good supervillain.
Like you're just like turn off, and they're like, I'm gonna get you.
But like there was one time where
Why did that have to get so rapey?
It got weird.
Always got.
Well, I mean, like
creepy.
he's gonna get your wallet. Like
You did not make it sound like that. That was like Tim Curry. It gonna get you from the.
well, I'm
inside
saying
the-
like
the
he's
train.
gonna want to like disguise his voice, and I'm gonna get you. Doesn't sound as good as
You
I'm
could
gonna
pick.
get you.
You could have picked literally any other way to go, and it would have been less bad than that.
Oh my
But
gosh, so much wiggles.
there was a lot.
He looks like he wants.
But yeah, there was one time where I was telling my ex-girlfriend about this kind of like the first time because it happened like to me that night. I was like, oh yeah, by the way, like this doesn't happen all the time, but it happens pretty often, and it has been happening for years. So sorry in advance. And she was like, okay, like, and kind of didn't believe me. And then we were walking back to where I parked from Seaport Village in downtown San Diego. And we were walking under a bank of streetlights, and it was like 8:30, 9 o'clock. And literally everyone that we walked under turned off. And then when we got to the next one, that one turned off, and the one behind me turned back on. And it was just me. Like, the walkway was full of people, but everyone I passed under, like, turned off. And she kind of looked at me, and then she was like, oh my God, you weren't lying. I'm like, no, like, I don't understand it, but it does happen, like, often enough that, like, I am convinced it's something to do with me. I don't know what, but, like, something
It is a thing.
happening. Yeah, like, it's not a cool thing. It just is a thing. So I apologize in advance for when it happens. But yeah, that's it. My superpowers are kind of like not super fun. Oh, and not a superpower, but I can tell when it's gonna rain because my ankle aches.
Oh, mother of God!
Because of surgeries.
Yeah, I have an old break there. So.
Yeah. So I have similar, except it's in both legs and in my head from months spent with a migraine, and now I can detect when the barometric pressure drops and shifts. I don't know if this is. I'm pretty sure it's a fairly common occurrence. But
Yeah,
just
just well documented. I don't know why, but I thought you were gonna say both legs and my ass. Like that was where like.
Well,
I
he
thought it was
did
going.
get that ass implant like 2 years ago. You know,
Yeah,
so.
definitely. You got a lot of shots there
from so much anal.
I was like, I mean,
Really? Why do you always gotta go there?
know.
I don't do. I mean,
You keep trying to make it sound like I'm gay, man. And
I mean, he didn't
I
go
don't.
there.
He did. He said.
I said because
Yeah,
of,
he didn't put the dicks in your butt. He just
I have never once.
He's
put a dick in
reporting
my
the
ass.
news. That's
you guys
all.
know that I have an aversion to things going in my ass.
beg to differ. So along the lines of mythical things, what's your favorite mythical creature? Like, I don't know. Like the other day, I was watching some stuff, and I was like, oh man, like unicorns are pretty cool.
It's a very vague description. What stuff are you watching?
Like
it porn?
I can't.
Things.
No, I
Was
can't
it
remember.
porn?
I can't remember the name of it.
It
It's
was
like
porn.
it's that like Carl unicorn stuff.
Oh,
kills
YouTube
people.
videos. People.
Yeah.
All right.
I just can't. I can't remember
Times
the
we
name of
have on YouTube.
it. But I was like, oh, unicorns, and that sent me down a rabbit hole of looking up unicorns, and I was like, you know, like I'm afraid of horses. Like I have a fear of horses, but like.
He doesn't fear of horses.
But,
Really?
Yeah. They're
I don't-
big creatures.
They're
Just like them.
huge creatures, bro.
I do not understand people who are afraid of
I just don't want to get kicked in the face, bro. Like I've seen a lot. I've also been down that rabbit hole, like watching people get kicked in the face by a horse, and it's just.
It doesn't happen that often.
Oh, I don't know. I just don't want it to happen at all.
I mean,
Also-
I'm sure people have been impaled by a rhino, but that doesn't happen all the time either. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is-
but what I'm saying, like, it's like, you know, I just don't want to get bitten by a horse. I don't want to get kicked by a horse. I don't want to ride a horse. I just don't want to be around a horse. Horses are just scary as shit.
Horses, clowns. We're just every week we're just going to discover a new fear of Thomas's.
I mean, I got a list. I'll put a list up.
I got a list.
But yeah, no, I was like, oh, unicorns would be pretty cool. Like, I think I could be chill with a
Is that
unicorn.
like your favorite though?
Yeah.
At the moment, yeah. Like, I couldn't think of like, I mean, like, you can always do the typical like, oh, dragons are pretty cool, just because like the
Now,
different species.
Are we talking like just like a fantasy creature, or are we talking more like mythological, like chupacabras, or like, you know?
We're talking the myth. Are we talking the
like-
mythos behind, or are we talking cryptid? Now,
Exactly, yeah.
we can break this down. If some of you don't know, there's a study called cryptozoology, which is the study of things that may or may not exist, and
Right.
the breakdown of them using scientific and pseudo-scientific methods.
Yeah, I would just say your favorite like mythological creature. So like, either or.
Okay.
Okay.
I think my favorite would probably be. I like griffins a lot.
Griffins, huh?
Yeah, I think they're really cool. That's actually my next tattoo. Is gonna be a griffin, but I've just always enjoyed like their duality in nature, and they tend to be like very noble creatures, and I don't know, they're not as common as like the dragon or something like that. And I love dragons and unicorns, and I've enjoyed a lot of the fantasy creatures, but
I feel like that's a soundbite right there.
Right?
I love dragons and unicorns.
Love those dragons and unicorns. But I don't know, I've just always had that like soft spot for griffins. I think they're really cool.
Yeah. Mr. Lyle?
Well, I mean, I've always enjoyed, I come from a history background and oftentimes a literature background, so I enjoy mythology. I love especially Norse myth and things of that nature, but if I had to think of a particular creature, and I don't know if I ever have, I mean, dragons are cool, but I've recently kind of been looking into a lot of, Japanese mythos and some of the creatures they have. They're just a lot of different kind of variation, like Eastern versus Western, but I really enjoy kitsune, which in some belief kitsune are like could belong in the category of yokai. Sometimes they're described as being partially demon, sometimes they're just mystical.
People, so that he can have sex with bunnies.
No,
It comes full circle,
Comes
you guys.
all the way back.
it really doesn't.
Oh, he
A
wants to
kitsune
fuck
is
a
a
dead fox.
No, why the fuck would I want to fuck
Why
a
is
dead
it dead?
fox? Dude,
This is a spirit fox.
Stop. That's not what it is. You're putting some weird things on me, man.
I'm just saying you want
Thomas
some spirit fox dick in your ass. Like, I don't know,
Thomas
man.
is
I
trying
don't
to
know
put some
what
weird
you want
things. He has an obsession with dicks in my ass.
Yep.
If you've picked up on this, now
Yep.
podcast 5.
So weird. We're all
So much,
pantsless.
so pantsless, so many dicks in Sterling's ass.
Dead fox
Go to my
dicks.
new website, www.sterlingdickinAss.com. Or no, .org. It's a nonprofit.
Anyway, barring Thomas's issues that he's putting on me,
Send some dildos.
I thought
we're running out.
I think kitsune are interesting. They've appeared in a lot of like folkloric legends and a lot of like new books I read. They're kind of like a novella, but kitsune has mystical powers and multiple tails. The more tails they have, the longer they've been alive, and the more powerful they are. And so they just are kind of interesting. They're mischievous. They're kind of like that trickster goddess, but at the same time, they tend to help teach lessons, and they tend to protect the weak and the innocent. So I just find them to be kind of a noble but like snarky and sassy kind of character, and that appeals to me. I like a little like wordplay. I like a little wits, but at the same time, I like those fairly noble acts. So I actually have found that I really I enjoy kitsune, and I just think foxes are adorable. So
Yeah. While we were all talking, I thought of my favorite mythical like creatures, but like now I'm afraid to say it because you guys are gonna make fun of me.
Nah, man.
that's it. Yeah,
So I've been reading a lot of the Harry Dresden files lately.
good books.
And, yeah, it's a good series. But they deal with a lot of like fae like creatures, a lot of fairy type creatures. And anytime he encounters those like fairies and stuff, I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I've done a lot of research and stuff in it over the last like 4 years or so. I'm like, oh man, I don't know, just like the idea of like different levels of fairies, like pixies and sprites, and then you have like the upper class and shit. And like,
So you like more just like the whole blanket fairy, like, and all their subspecies.
yeah, like I just like I know like in the series Bert General, like he deals with different fairies, but like each interaction is very like, oh fuck, it's this type of fairy. Oh fuck, like
Yeah.
it's I don't know. I like being like, oh, like you just have to be very cunning and smart to deal with that creature.
Right. Although so many of the book series that I read have interactions with them in to varying degrees, and I enjoy them for all that. I just recently picked up the Dresden books, and so they're great. And of course, Supernatural makes a reference to the Fae. Dean shouting out as he's being arrested, "Fight the fairies, Sam!" Very enjoyable.
Yeah,
we're big fans of Supernatural here, so for that Supernatural fandom, guys, give us a listen. We'll drop some references.
Drop a lot of references, not just Supernatural, but
shameless
Only
self-promotion.
Supernatural references from now on until episode 28.
that was going to be impossible.
I don't think. Have you seen Tumblr? I think it's possible.
We only gotta speak in code.
No.
The
It's like
vibe.
some ghost trying to crack the code.
Crack the code. If you know where that reference is
I
from.
specifically heard denim.
Oh, mother of God. Anyway, so yeah. So we enjoy our mythos here, and so that's a good one. If you ever want to drop a link to any of our various social medias, favorite creatures, or perhaps some information you have, show us something new. I'd appreciate that.
Like dick and ass monsters.
For Thomas.
For me. No, actually it's pretty interesting. I took a
Dick and ass
class.
monsters?
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna go.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I actually had a class where we studied, Roman Greek mythology in college, and
often.
literally the first lecture, it was just really interesting. The old guy comes in, he takes off his shoes, and he just starts pacing in front of the classroom, and he kind of just starts talking about different myths, and the class focused on Heracles, and how his stories transformed and turned him into Hercules. So it was kind of cool. You got to see through the passing of his stories how he's become this new icon, idol kind of thing. But every time he encountered monsters, the teacher would go in and describe these monsters how he was described, and it always came back to it was a vagina monster. It was basically a vagina monster, and how the men back in this day were fearful of women. So basically it was just them plighting women. It was the weirdest thing ever, but basically everything was what is it? And it looks like this. This is how it's described in books. What does that remind you of? And you get the one guy vagina, and he's yes, vagina monster. And it's just every monster. It's just a minotaur, vagina monster, lion, vagina monster. I'm shit. There's a lot of vagina.
If you study myth, then invariably you are going to be looking into psychology. That's, it's such a classic link there. But for so many people, and it depends on what kind of the school of thought. There are many. You can have your own, but so many people fall into that category of the Freudian look at things, which everything relates back to sex, and it's good God. That's why I prefer Jung, who was technically a student of Freud, but he had a very different idea. And then launching off from Jung, we would go to Joseph Campbell, and Joseph Campbell is one of my favorite authors. He's passed away in recent decades, but favorite authors, and we'll talked about myth and psychology in a great way. So, Joseph Campbell, great guy. Ever pick up one of his books or a class on it? Good stuff. Jung, I do not care to Freudian, psychology by any means. If you do, cool. Whatever. Pick your experts. But yeah.
Here's a similar topic I would enjoy touching on is. That's weird.
You said touching on, so I just
okay.
Thomas is caressing Jason's arm.
He threw his hand on my shoulder.
Well, that wasn't caressing. It was just hand on shoulder.
Kind of
Yeah, it was just weird. Okay. So I've been a writer for many years. I was an English major in college, and I've never been able to shake the feeling that so much of the literary dissection, speaking about things like this is a vagina monster, let's look into the subtext of this, was just somebody they're just making shit up. And I feel a lot, if somebody went back at some point ever and analyzed my works and was oh man, this is a metaphor for the American economy in 2015, I'm no, it's just a story. I just made it up.
The South Park episode where they write a really bad book and they blame it on Butters and people read into it too much.
Yeah. I hate that shit, right? There's so much of dissecting the great American classics. I'm how much of this, if you went back and asked the author, would be total bullshit that somebody was just this kind of fits, and we're gonna teach that now as this was intentional.
Mm-hmm. have that in literature.
True. That is so true. It's like, I think I saw a thing where I was like, Edgar Allan Poe, oh, the raven, it's death, the meaning, oh, rebirth, life. No, maybe the bro he just really liked ravens.
Yeah, maybe it was just
they're a cool bird. They're awesome. I mean, there's a lot of mythos behind ravens, culturally, but maybe he just legitimately thought ravens were badass, so he wanted to put ravens in something. You can't tell. Ask them.
There's just a lot of stuff, and I feel like most of these theories come out after they're dead.
Oh yeah,
like they never start dissecting this shit and talking about like this is what they meant, of course, when the author's alive, because then the author could be like, no, false. No. But like
it's like Harper Lee's the new release book.
Yeah, I don't know. I just
like that kind of thing. It's like how much can you really know? How much are you guys just making up bullshit? Because and people, of course, with their various agendas will.
Right. And there are certainly some things where it's like, look, this is probably obvious. Like, there's enough to go off of in this case that, like, it absolutely makes sense and it's relevant to, the times or whatever, or maybe they put in a foreword that kind of talked about it a little bit, whatever, right? But I just feel like so much of it is just, like, somebody was just like, I think this is what it was about. And, like, it caught on. Yeah. And it drove me bonkers when I had to, like, write about it. So I'm like, no, I don't think that's the case. I think they maybe just wanted to write a book. Like, maybe they just had a story to tell.
Yeah.
And it was just about the story they wanted to tell.
Yeah.
Like,
most likely.
Good times. Good times to be had. The literary world.
I worry about that. Like, as a writer, I'm like, I'm going to, like, they're going to try to make my books something they're not. And I won't be able to stop them because it'll be like 100 years on the road. Assuming that A, I ever have a book that gets published, and B, that it sticks around for 100 years. But if that happened, that it would get like all like warped out of context and be like taught in schools as like, oh well, this is it's an allegory. I'm like, no, it's a fucking story about like two guys with swords in the woods. Like,
how do you feel like the author would feel like for the Catcher in the Rye? Like, God, like if you were the author of Catcher in the Rye,
all the books,
and it was just like, no man, don't do that. Don't say you did that because of my book.
Right.
That was just a kid who had some issues, man. All kids go through angst. Like,
right. He's like, I just wanted to like talk about like issues that kids face, and they're like, "Yes, my anthem, man."
Yeah.
This is. I had this in my back pocket when I started like doing heroin, and like
it just spoke to me, and now I gotta go kill someone famous.
Yeah. Like what? No.
Yeah. What is it with like, that book in particular that draws people to it? And maybe it's because I either have different issues or. Pray to God, maybe I'm a well-adjusted person, but for some reason that book just did not speak to me. I don't know.
I thought it was a very boring book.
It was so boring.
Holden
Caulfield. Holden what? But anyway.
Little dick douche kid.
He was a whiny douche.
Yeah. I mean, his teacher did sort of come on to him, which was, I understand that might cause you some issues in the dead of the night when you've been drinking highballs all night at frickin' 16?
Well, remember, he's super tall for his age.
Yeah, but still. But anyway, yeah.
Ghost Hunt? No, TV.
Hunt.
Yeah.
I hear TV in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, apologize.
So loud.
But yeah, that's a good point. How much caters to perspective, it caters to, really how much do we actually know? I mean, we can infer a great deal, but it's...
right.
Yeah. Also, it comes down to is like, kind of sad to say, but people are sheep, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And people don't... Like, it comes full circle about, like, not wanting to speak out, but people don't want to form their own opinions. It's kind of like... Kind of something I want to talk about, too, is, like, the ambiguous posts on Facebook. Or people posting things with not all the information just because, someone posted an article, a clickbait article, like, oh, blah, 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 and, someone clicks it, and it's like, oh, look at this, like, the world's falling apart, and not all the facts are there, or whatever. It's just sad. People are so quick to jump on bandwagons.
Social media is a beautiful thing and a nightmarish hellscape all at the same time. It's created that anonymity so bad, which is great. There people use the anonymity to reveal things and protect lives and get information out there to the public. And at the same time, we also use it to share cat videos, which I love to no end. Don't get me wrong, but Chubby Cat. It's right there. But it's such a dangerous place. information builds and grows. It's like a giant game of telephone, except now the whole world is playing.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things with social media that I'm just like, yeah, like, do we... It's just, I don't know, it's such an interesting thing because it's so mainstream right now, and it's like, looking back 10 years ago even, you know, was not a central part of our lives.
No.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is it going to be like in 10 years from now? Like, will we still be right here? Is this going to be kind of the new... Obviously, we'll continue to evolve and grow, whatever, but will this be like the kind of plateau for a while? Will it keep going? Will it start to fall off a little bit? It's just interesting, you know, because I'm like, it's such a different dynamic, and I've never been the type of person that really has gotten deep into it. I use Facebook and Instagram and stuff just kind of to keep up with people, because I think it's definitely useful for that, being able to keep up and keep track of friends maybe you don't talk to on as much of a regular basis. But I post things maybe a couple times a year. I hardly ever am on there sharing my own stuff, not because I'm like afraid to. I just don't think there's a lot of things I do that are worth posting about on Facebook.
Yeah.
But it just makes me wonder, like, what will the future look like for our society as we continue?
Yeah, it's
forward?
like kids are definitely, you know, are gonna be like, oh, this is my identity. How many likes? How many followers? How many people are paying attention to me? Like,
yeah, I mean, I see it now with my little brother and my wife's younger sister. They'll post something and they'll be like, "Why didn't you like it?" And it's like, I didn't even look at it. And then I'll look at it and be like, I mean, it's a picture of like you just standing there, like you're not even doing anything cool.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like everything I see, and like, well, you should. Like, you're my brother. You should like this.
Yeah.
And it's like,
No.
what? You know, like, no, my little brother isn't as bad, but my sister-in-law is definitely more of that mentality of like, I gotta get all the likes I can. This is part of my identity.
yeah, this is who I am. If I
This
did,
validates me.
yeah, it validates my existence. It's a weird thing.
It's the advent of the like culture. And people have received fame, popularity, and wealth because of these outlets. And I'm not talking like someone who's gotten famous for their singing ability. I mean, they're legitimately just Insta famous. They are famous because of YouTube, because of Facebook. It's kind of crazy. I mean, I hate to say it, I mean, maybe this is cruel, because some of the people perhaps have a legitimate talent and have fostered it and worked at it in such a way that it does appeal to people, but people are just getting popular, famous, getting all these rewards just because. It relates back to like an old topic we talked about, you know, everyone gets a participation trophy anymore.
The trophy generation.
Now you can legitimately get famous just for things online that really don't have any bearing. I mean, how many actual important subjects? It's like the Nobel Prize is presented to someone who's actually done something that affects the world and has helped humanity, and here's Facebook, and here's a funny video of me with my white Vans on.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's also kind of
Sorry,
sad.
not to call you out, Daniel, or anything.
No, yeah.
Yeah, not to call you out, but yeah, it's like, yeah.
Become an internet sensation, and it's like, wow.
But it's also sad too. Is like this thing is like, on one hand, it's like, yeah, I would love people to have their own opinion, to speak out, because, you know, too many people are like quiet. But then on the other hand, like, you have people who just speak out because they want their opinion heard, regardless of what it is or if it's well informed. Like, there's a difference. There's a difference of someone just putting trash out on there because they want to rise and get followers and get people to watch them, and then there's people who are out there with a well-formed opinion and putting out their perspective because they're informed and they want other people to be informed. But it's not like, take my opinion as the only opinion. It's more of like, this is my opinion, this is the issue that's going on. People go look out and research it yourself.
Well, then you got trolls.
Yeah.
You know.
And then you got people just fucking
who
around.
just spread hate just to spread it.
Yeah, it's weird. People are fucking weird, dude. I hate it.
I mean, let's just think about it. We have a candidate in the United States of America who is mostly popular because he says what he thinks. Legitimately, I heard someone who's voting for Mr. Donald Trump. Oh, at least he says what's on his mind. It's like, I mean, okay, yeah, that's okay. That's cool. What's that have to do with his bearing on politics? What's that have to do with foreign policy? What's that have to do with anything that is important to the President of the United States. Well, I mean, he says his mind, and he's not like those other politicians who are all lies. Don't get me wrong, yeah, most politicians are horrendous liars, but God, to get
Oscar.
to become president based on just the fact that you say what's on your mind, or you say something that probably seems racy to some, so that really anneals the other side, that's ridiculous, people. I mean, literally, for something that any other person who didn't have wealth that could spew on Facebook the stuff that they think about, he's going to become president for that reason, and an incredible amount of wealth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I Trump aside and your political views aside, I think
of course.
it's more of a symptom of where we are right now on a media standpoint, and I think the biggest, personally, I feel like the biggest thing we have to blame is the 24-hour media cycle.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
And sensational journalism, and
Finding the story.
If you aren't speaking out, then people forget about you. You know, and so he does these things, and what I'm sure is a calculated manner of, you know, hey, look, if I'm not doing anything, if I'm speaking in a very logical and rational way, my ratings, my visibility is going to fall off. When I say shit like we're going to build a wall and Mexico will pay for it, people are like, that's crazy, but they're talking about me.
Love it.
And they're all of a sudden like, I'm in the spotlight, and people are going to be dissecting me and breaking it down and having chats about me. And it's that idea of being, if you can't be famous, you know, be notorious, be infamous, you know, and any press is good press.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it's ridiculous that that's what it takes now. But, you know, we're waiting for the next crazy thing, the next sensationalist piece of whatever. And then we spend all this time, you know, digging into it over the stupid stuff. You know, we'll have a mass shooting and we'll spend 6 days talking about the shooter's life and, you know, why was he maladjusted, or, you know, did he have any previous, like, you know, it's insane. But that's what the market is for it. And it's a reflection, I guess, in our country that's, you know, it's flourished.
Yeah.
But it
Comes down again to ratings or likes
Yeah.
over than substance. It's like,
Yeah.
man, that was a deep conversation. I want to say overall, this was our deepest podcast.
Yeah, we fluctuated a little bit.
Yeah, we fluctuated. We got a little 1-2s in there, but man, just coming back.
Mariana's Trench deep.
Oh, how deep is that? That's scary.
That is the deepest point on the planet.
I know, finding creatures that we don't even know about.
Right.
Jelly blobfish, dude.
Jelly blobfish dudes.
Yeah,
like it.
that's the Latin term. Jellyphilus melicanus. If you're Homo sapiens.
Judas.
Judas.
Sapien.
But yeah, if you're still listening, if you made it through this hour-long podcast, hey, thanks. You're a winner. Have a gold star on me.
Right. We definitely appreciate you.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
are so beautiful.
Don't think that we're disparaging any of your political parties by just addressing one at the time. I mean,
Oh god, yeah, no.
given the subject matter, we can certainly talk about
This is a political neutral zone where we just talk all sides, and we just happen to talk one side because it felt our point. News. We are Fox. Oh.
What?
Nothing, I just had a sad moment. But yeah, thank you so much again for checking out our episode. If this is your first episode, please check out our other episodes, because this is episode 5, so you want to listen to 1 through 4. Hey, fun fact, if you want to email us, you can, but even more fun fact, we have a new email. It's actually, it's going to be chubbycatllc@gmail.com.
That's that Lima Charlie.
Yes, for you military types out there. God bless, and all that, and thanks for your service.
Really, all that?
It made it seem a little flippant.
Yeah, a little bit.
We appreciate you.
We do.
We truly
It was
do.
just the standard phonetic military alphabet.
Yeah.
Just in case it didn't come across.
Yeah, no, of course. It's also just, I'm tired.
Yeah, it is late.
And it's like
The
not
night
too
is
late
dark
to masturbate.
and full of
though.
terrors. Wow.
What?
I don't know. Sterling's over there quoting Ice and Fire. Thomas is talking about masturbating.
Gotta bust out that aloe.
Don't borrow mine, please. He's spending the night at my house tonight, and I want my aloe vera supply to remain untainted by Wong.
Just gonna come into my room in the morning. I'm just gonna be covered in aloe. Like, it was crazy.
You need a new bottle, by the way. Here's a 5-note.
Here's a 5-note. But yeah, so send us emails, questions, all that good stuff.
Mythic creatures, jokes.
Yeah, I'm interested to get a joke. Because we're just going to read the joke and then discuss the joke? Is that what we're hoping for?
I mean, I guess.
Maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Like, break it down and then, like, critique it.
Critique it?
Maybe
yeah, send us your jokes so we can critique it. If you're a stand-up comedian and your shit's just not working on stage, send it our way and we'll fix it for you. Sorry. But yeah, also like and subscribe on iTunes, please. And maybe give us a little rating, a little... I'm not going to say 5 stars. I'm going to say 4 stars. Give us like a 4-star rating.
Or, give us whatever you think is fair.
Yeah. But maybe that 4 that's a B. That's a B.
Yeah.
I think we're worth a B.
I think, yeah.
We can manage a B average.
Yeah.
At least a 3.6.
And look at me. I'm saying there's room for improvement. Oh,
100%.
100%. But we're definitely above average and we're not an F.
This is very true.
Also, leave us maybe a little comment. Let us know what you thought. Maybe things you would like to hear us talk about, or ways we can improve, or whatnot. Because we'll read all the comments.
So hopefully sometime soon we'll bring in some guests to chime in, and maybe even some experts to talk about some stuff. We'll see. Got some connections.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, maybe once we get more than one microphone.
That would help.
That would help.
Yes.
Let's get more than one microphone.
It's going to be challenging
and then
to
we'll get
include
guests.
any other people.
Yes. I can concur with that statement.
But, well, at the end of the day, thank you, faithful listeners, for sticking with us, and new listeners for hopefully becoming faithful listeners. We appreciate you becoming part of the Chubby Cat Brigade. So.
Chubby Cat.
You the cat's meow.
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 I think we should
and
do that.
In the famous words of our forefathers, rub-a-dub-chub.
No.
Yeah, I could actually get behind that one.